Hello, in this video we're going to go over how to fill out the 1003 or the mortgage application form electronically. Nowadays, most lenders, mortgage brokers, etc. are using electronic applications like this one. In this example, I am using Floify, and this is the electronic link for this application. Notice that is an HTTPS, and this is a secure network. How do you know that? You click on the lock and you can see that the connection is secure. So the first thing you are going to do is you're going to put in your email address to create an account, and then you're going to click continue. Next, you're going to confirm that email, and then you're going to put in a password, and this will ultimately create your account. Then you're going to click continue with email. So now you are in the registration area. Always notice that there's a navigation bar on your left hand side. So here you're going to put your first name. In this case, let's say John. Last name Buyer. Mobile number. And then you're going to agree to terms, which is basically I consent to do business electronically. And you're going to receive text messages. So you are allowing to receive text communication. That will be yes. And then you have at this point finished the account setup. So again, notice the navigation bar, a lot of options opened up. We're going to go through each of these sections one by one. But first we're going to start with the application. So the introduction, start section, date of birth, social security number, marital status, citizenship, any alternate names, yes or no. If there is an alternate name, please go ahead and add the alternate name and any other alternate names that you may have. If not, continue. Contact information. You can copy your mobile number using Control-C and then Control-V to put it as home phone number as well. You can put in work number if you have one. Go ahead and continue. Do you have any dependents? Let's say this person has 3 dependents. What is the age of each dependent? If you don't have any dependents, no, and continue. Your current address, you're going to put in what is your current address. Miami, Florida. United States. When did you move into this address? We're going to need a 2-year history. So you've been living here for less than 2 years, and we're going to need a former address. If this is the one that you've been living in 2 years, and that's fine. But whatever, we're going to need to complete a former address. Once again, 2-year history. If within the past 2 years you've been in 4 different addresses, then we need all that information. In this case, I'm going to make it simple. That is more than 2 years. And then it is, do we own, rent, or no housing expense? If you were living, let's say, with parents, or you were living in a place where you didn't have to pay any rent, then this would be the answer. If it's rent, then you would put how much rent. And if you own, what is the property value? Is it pending sale? Is it retained or sold? Pending sales, you have it on the market, and retained, you're going to keep it. Is it your primary residence? Is it a primary resident that's 1 to 4 units or 2 to 4 units? Is it a second home? Is it an investment property? Does this property have a mortgage? Yes. Then you're going to go into mortgage details. Does it have a separate mailing address? Yes or no? And once again, any former mailing addresses. In this case, let's say rent. The menu is a whole lot simpler. You're renting for, let's say, $2,000. Continue. So here you see your address history, more than 2 years. You don't need to add any other residences. This completes your 2-year history. Have you been in the military? Yes or no? If yes, what is the status? Are you a surviving spouse? Currently retired, currently serving, or non-activated? Employment history. So once again, you can toggle between menus. So over here, employment history. You're going to need a 2-year employment history unless you're recently graduated, but typically a 2-year history is required. So we come over here, say my employer, manager, that's the number, address, with unit number, city, state, postal code. When did you start? Notice that anything that has an asterisk, we're going to need all this information as well, so go ahead and fill it out. Start date for the employment, once again, just like in the address history, we're going to need a 2-year work history. If this is less than 2 years, you can go ahead and say it. And let's say in this case you started January of 2022, and this is your current employer, and you're receiving, let's say, $4,500. Are you employed by a family member, property seller, real estate agent, or other party in the transaction? Yes or no? Is there any other type of income within this employment? Is there overtime, bonus, commission? For overtime, bonuses, and commission, typically a 2-year history is required. Monetary entitlements and other income, you can add here. Other income, you can add here. Once again, this basically populates that. Notice that this says you're going to need a 2-year history, so you would add employment. In this case, let's say you were a student. And then you went to school from So now we essentially have 2-year history at the bare minimum. You're going to have to verify employment gaps. We can fix that. We do. Notice now that there's no red indicating that you haven't completed the 2-year history. So this is a hard stop on the application. So we need 2 years of employment. Or if you were a student, that would be fine. Other sources of income, if you're receiving alimony or child support or any one of these sources of income, you can go ahead and click on it and then put the number. For example, for, let's say, disability income. You put disability, and then you might be receiving $1,000. Continue. property declarations. Will you occupy this property as your primary residence? Yes or no. Did you have any ownership interest in another property in the last 3 years? Yes or no. Notice if you put yes, it's going to ask further questions. So if you had a primary residence, was an FHA second home, or investment property, you select the appropriate one. Then over here by yourself, your spouse, or joint with another person. Do you have any family relationship or business affiliation with the seller of the property? Yes or no. Are you borrowing any money for this real estate transaction in addition to the current loan that we are trying to get you pre-approved for? Will you be applying for a mortgage loan on another property? I suggest in these two, you do not go and find other properties and find another mortgage until you close on one. Do one mortgage at a time, because that may decrease your chances of pre-qualification. The same thing on this question, where it talks about, are you trying to apply for an installment loan or a credit card? This question basically relates to the property that you're trying to buy. Is it subject to a PACE lien? Is PACE? That typically has to do with properties that have solar panels. So if you know that the property has a solar panel, that would be yes. Or if you don't know what you're buying at this point, then that's okay to put a no. Are you a co-signer or a guarantor or any debt or loan that is not disclosed in this application? If it's not on your credit report, or if you think you don't know, it might be yes. So you have to select the appropriate answer here. Are there any outstanding judgments against you? Yes or no. Are you currently delinquent on any defaults on federal debt? Basically, do you have any IRS liens? Do you owe any money to the federal government? Are you in a lawsuit that you would be personally liable or have any personal financial liability? Have you conveyed title, deed in lieu of foreclosure for the last 7 years? Within the past 7 years, have you completed a pre-foreclosure share or short sale? Have you had a foreclosure within the past 7 years? Have you declared bankruptcy? If so, what kind of bankruptcy? Demographic information. This is important for reporting. So notice now you've completed the entire section here of your information. You're basically reviewing. Now you've finished the section, and now there's a check mark on your information. Next session for co-borrower. If you have a co-borrower, go ahead and put their they have to put in, or you can put in their personal information. If you do not have one, then you simply select no, and you continue with the next section. This will be your assets. Let's say a checking account, Wells Fargo, your account number, and what is the cash value. If you have an other account, say a retirement account from your job, account number, and that's how much cash value you have. So now you have your assets complete. You review it and make sure, are there any other accounts? You might say, oh wait, need to add another account. So what type of account is it? Did you already put in earnest money or planning to put earnest money? Do you have a mutual fund or proceeds from a non-real estate transaction? Let's say Ford, car sale, and you're gonna net, let's say, $10,000. So now you have all this taken care of. Review it. Looks good. Next section. If you own any real estate, this is where you would put it. So real estate, you have the address, city, state, postal code, country, what's the property value, status, is it sold, is it pending sale or retained? Typically this is for real estate owned, so really is going to be pending sale or retained. And then what is the occupancy? Is it your primary residence? Is it a primary residence 2 to 4 unit, second home, investment property, or other? What are you going to do in the intended occupancy? Is it a primary residence 2 to 4 unit, second home, or investment property? And then what are your monthly insurance, taxes, and associations due all together in this line? And then if the property is mortgaged, what is the mortgage and who is the creditor with the account number? We're going to keep it simple. I'm going to close this. And then we're going to go back to introduction, and we are going to say that do not own real estate for this exercise. But you would see here, if you had more than one property, each property would have its own little section with its details. Finish section. Now we're going to go into the loan amount. Why are you actually applying? Are you purchasing? Are you refinancing? Let's go with a purchase. What state? Let's go with Florida. How much are you purchasing for? Let's say $350. Your down payment, let's say it's $35,000. So that means that the loan amount is $315,000. Occupancy, let's say that you're going to use this to purchase a primary home, and it's going to be a single family home, or you can select are you looking for a townhome, condominium, mobile home, high rise, etc. Is it mixed use? Yes or no? Do you have other new mortgage on this property? This will not apply. No. Continue. Residency status. Are you a U.S. citizen or permanent resident alien, non-permanent resident alien, or do you have an ITIN number? U.S. citizen. So let's review. That's your loan purpose. Continue. Now notice that all these check marks, you've finished all these sections. So now we're going to go over review everything. Next section, now we're going over assets. Next section, we're going over real estate you don't own. Next section, loan information. Continue to submission. Now, this is the very last section where you hit on the box, and this you will agree for us to run your credit. Once you hit the box, submit application will appear. You click on submit application, and congratulations, you've started the first process, which is applying for the loan. Please click this subscribe and like this video for more content. Thank you so much.